Hi guys, welcome back. It's me, Jody Ann. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, this is Tarot Talks with Jody Ann. I've been reading tarot for 25 years at least professionally, and I'm walking through the High Arcana card by card, looking at the artwork and the symbology. I also have a podcast, The Witching Half Hour or so. On there, there's different information on there. We're going through the cards. I also have a series on the elements. If you're interested in a booking, you can head to my webpage. There'll be a link down below. Thanks. Okay, let's get into this. Today we're talking about the Death card, that mysterious and sometimes scary card that comes up in movies and pop culture all the time. It actually doesn't mean death, not in a literal sense. In all my years of readings, I have only had it come up to mean someone passing once, and that was a cat. So I've never had it come up for a human transitioning from this life to the next. The meanings behind it are much deeper and much more nuanced than what movies want to tell you about it being a bad omen. Now, I actually will buy or not buy a deck based on what that death card looks like. That's how important I find the artwork in this and the symbology. For me, if an artist and designer of a deck doesn't capture the idea of transition and hope in their death card, I usually don't read from that deck. So I'm going to share some decks with you today. I like to start with older decks. So let's look at one. This is from the Tarot de Marseille. This is the oldest deck we have that is complete, and it is from the 16th century, I believe. I can't remember right now. And you can see it looks pretty creepy, right? We've got this skeleton kind of guy reaping. There's like hands and heads all in the field. So it looks pretty crazy. The difference is in that day and age, we had a much different relationship with death. We were living in a much more normal cycle with life and death and rebirth. So this is one of the only cards we'll see where we don't see rebirth on the card. Mostly what you see on a death card is the cycle of death and rebirth together holding hands, because the card is about transition. It's about letting go so that we can get something new. It's about releasing and rebirth. And those concepts are kind of like the opposite sides of a coin. They go together. You cannot have newness and rebirth and growth and openness without having release, letting go, grief, and death. Let's look at some more cards. The next one I want to show you is from the Mythic Tarot. This one is based on Greek mythology, and what you'll see here is a very used deck. As you can see, it's one of my older decks. So this is based on Greek mythology. So in it, we have Hades. We have the Greek god of death, and you can see that there's a different relationship. You've got that bounty in the back. You've got that beautiful river that could be argued as the river Styx. And you've got those rolling hills, the sunset depicting ending and things coming to a close. But you also have these beautiful souls giving offerings and love to this god of death. In that pantheon, in the Greek, Greco-Roman pantheon, and many other pantheons, the ruler of underworlds cares for us. It's a psychopomp position that helps us, that carries us, that assists us in crossing. So it is a card of peaceful transition. It's a card to remind you that you are being cared for in your big emotional time. Because that's the thing, right? With the death card, it's a big feels card. Anytime it comes up, you can be assured that your client is going through massive transition, huge emotions, and big feels. So another deck that is similar is this is the Legacy of the Divine Tarot. Again, we've got actually the symbol of Pluto, which is another name for Hades. It's another name for the Lord of the Underworld. We've got the skull, we've got this rider, but we have this beautiful white rose. We have life bursting forth, right? So we kind of have this horseman of the apocalypse, horseman of death imagery, but we have this imagery of hope. And you'll see in all these cards and all these different death cards, there is imagery of hope. There is this idea that this is natural, that it is a cycle, that there is peace, that there is hope in the dark times, that there is a caretaker for you in these dark times, that your spirit guides are with you and watching out for you as you go through this transition. This is from the Tarot of the Secret Garden. And again, we have another figure of transition and death. And what I like about this one is how you see the idea of rising above hardship, about getting through the emotions. It's that butterfly, metaphor we see all the time. We're in a transition, we're in a cocoon, it's difficult, it's tricky, and then we emerge from the cocoon and we're all beautiful and butterfly. So that's what's in this one. And I just really like this deck. I want to show you something cool about this deck. This deck is actually dual-sided. So within it, you have a black and white version and a color version of the same card. I like kind of the black and white look to this one when I'm studying it, especially. To me, the artwork really pops, but I digress as always. Okay, and the last card I want to show you, really highlighting that idea of being cared for in times of transition, that you are on the right path, even though sometimes it's difficult, is from the Mary L. Tarot. This is that card's death card. So we have someone just ancient and wise and beautiful who looks like maybe they're passing, maybe they're a dead body, maybe they're a spirit person. And then we have those beautiful, beautiful flowers. So we have the idea of decay and release, as well as rebirth and life. And behind the death card, the meaning, the esoteric message behind the death card is one of transition, of the natural flow of transition, closing of one chapter and an opening of a new chapter. And within that transition, you are being held and cared for. I'm going to bring up all these cards again. So there you have them. The death cards of the tarot. Not a scary card at all. A card about transition. A card about moving from one space to the next, about moving through big emotions. And remember that in the old pantheons, there's always a helper moving you through. Whether it's Hades or Pluto or Hela or whoever it may be, the boatman of the river Styx, moving you from one stage to the next, guiding you, helping you, protecting you through your transitions. And that's some of the messaging that comes out when we have this card in our tarot decks. A big transition, a big change, a hard change, a difficult change, but a natural change that you're not alone in, that you're transitioning through. Thank you so much. If you made it to the end of the video, why don't you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any of my content. I drop monthly readings, I drop tarot lessons, and occasionally when I'm organized, deck reviews. So thanks, guys. To book a reading, to find out all that I'm up to, just head on over to my webpage, www.jodiannpsychicmedium.com. Take care, loves.